Vatican City, a tiny 44-hectare sovereign enclave walled off within Rome's beating heart. A sanctuary of marble, gardens, and ancient palaces. This entire nation is small enough to traverse on foot in 60 minutes. Every year, millions swarm here to stand beneath Michelangelo's towering dome. They seek a glimpse of the Pope during Sunday prayers. They pace across polished floors, eyes locked on frescoed ceilings, cameras flashing incessantly. Yet they are oblivious to the world beneath their souls. A sprawling city of the dead, descending dozens of meters into the dark. A realm older than the Vatican, older than the Church itself. A secret hidden for 5 centuries until concealment became a physical impossibility. To grasp the mystery buried here, we must look at what occupied this ground before the first stone of any church was laid. This was a graveyard. 2,000 years ago, during the Roman Empire, this land sat far beyond the city's protective walls. Nestled by the Tiber, the Ager Vaticanus was a marshy wasteland. The Romans deemed this swampy hill useless for farming or life. Clay-heavy soil and malaria-infested marshes made it a death trap. But for one purpose, it was perfect. Massive, sprawling burials. Roman law strictly forbade interments within city limits. Consequently, vast necropolises lined the roads leading away from the capital's gates. This hill evolved into a massive, multi-tiered labyrinth of graves. A city of the dead that expanded through the centuries. These were not mere holes in the dirt. The Roman elite constructed literal stone houses for their deceased, extravagant mausoleums for eternity. These structures featured ornate rooms, painted walls, and carved stone coffins. They lined the paths like residences on a silent suburban street. Relatives entered through heavy doors to offer wine, food, and flowers. They came to commune with those who had passed into the shadows. Ancient belief held that the dead still felt hunger. These tombs had windows and courtyards, a subterranean mirror of the world above. Legend claims this very cemetery holds the remains of Peter, Christ's lead disciple, the first bishop of Rome, and the original pope. Tradition states Peter met a brutal end under Emperor Nero's reign. It was roughly the year 64 or 67 of our era. He faced the cross upside down. He reportedly refused to die like his master, feeling unworthy of a similar execution. His body was lowered into a shallow grave on this marshy hill. Over time, a shrine rose, followed by a modest church. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine ordered a colossal monument. The first great basilica was born on this exact ground. By the 1500s, that structure was demolished for Michelangelo's masterpiece. But the construction required a dark, radical sacrifice. Constantine demanded a level foundation for his temple, but the hillside was a jagged mess of tombs, stairs, and ancient vaults. His solution was absolute. Instead of leveling the tombs, he sliced off the hilltop and used the debris to fill the gaps. He packed the mausoleums with earth right up to their roofs. The city of the dead became the literal foundation for the church. Beside this graveyard stood another grim landmark: Nero's Circus, an arena not for entertainment, but for blood-soaked chariot races and slaughter. After the Great Fire of 64, Nero used this stadium for mass executions. Christians were the chosen scapegoats for the burning of Rome. They were torn by dogs or nailed to crosses. Some were coated in pitch and torched as living lamps for nighttime races. In this arena of blood, Peter likely died. He was buried just yards away in the cemetery that became the necropolis. Constantine obsessed over the location. He positioned the high altar directly above what he believed was Peter's final resting place. This engineering nightmare required moving mountains of earth. He wouldn't just build on flat land nearby. It had to be here. Sacred geography mattered more than architectural logic. By the 300s, the site's identity was already set in stone. St. Peter's stands on a foundation of human remains. This is no poetic metaphor. It is a cold, physical reality. Beneath the gold and marble lies a silent, sealed world. Forgotten for 1,500 years, the necropolis waited in total darkness. Rumors of the graveyard persisted. The church claimed the apostle was there, but the true scale remained a hidden mystery. Then, in 1939, fate intervened. Pope Pius XI passed away, triggering a sequence of extraordinary events. His final wish was burial in the crypt. As workmen broke ground beneath the altar to prepare his tomb, they struck something. It wasn't the basilica's foundation. It was an ancient wall of red brick, still clinging to fragments of antique plaster and paint. They found a chamber, then a passage, then a labyrinth of forgotten rooms stretching deep into the shadows. They had pierced the roof of a Roman tomb sealed by Constantine. The new pope, Pius XII, made a daring choice. He refused to seal it back up. He ordered a clandestine excavation, a mission hidden from the world's prying eyes. Total silence was mandated. Not even the highest officials knew. The stakes were impossibly high for the Vatican's legacy. Finding Peter would be the ultimate proof of faith. Finding nothing, or something else, could shatter the church's very legitimacy. For 10 years, the secret dig continued. From 1940 to 1950, while the Second World War raged above ground, archaeologists toiled in oxygen-deprived tunnels by lamplight. They worked in constant fear of the massive cathedral collapsing overhead. Every bucket of debris pulled back the veil. They uncovered frescoes, inscriptions, and stone coffins that defied every expectation. Deep beneath the majesty of St. Peter's Basilica lies a literal city of the dead. 22 grand mausoleums line an ancient Roman road like silent houses. These tombs flank the path, pressed shoulder to shoulder. It is an urban layout for those who have moved on, mirroring the world above. Every vault belonged to a specific dynasty, each unique. One features vibrant frescoes of vines and birds, sacred symbols of the great beyond. Others boast mosaics of tritons and seahorses. One ceiling depicts Mercury, the divine guide, ushering souls into the lightless underworld. Pagan gods stand beside early Christian crosses. They exist wall to wall, a silent truce between old deities and the rising new faith. Enemies in life, perhaps, but peaceful neighbors in eternity. Inside, the limestone sarcophagi remain undisturbed, holding secrets from 2,000 years ago. Urns, coins, and jewelry clutter the floors. Because these chambers were sealed in bone-dry darkness, the paint looks like it was applied yesterday. Opening these vaults felt less like science and more like a brush with the supernatural for the original excavators. You crawl through a narrow gap. Your flashlight cuts the dark, and suddenly, a face. 2,000 years old, yet startlingly vivid. A Roman noblewoman's curls. A man named Gaius Valerius Hermes, a freed slave. A child clutching a small toy dog. These eyes stared into 15 centuries of blackness. Waiting. For archaeologists, this was no mere discovery. It was a personal encounter. They met the residents who lived and died precisely where the heart of the Christian world now pulses today. One tomb held a small girl, barely 12. Her epitaph reads, "To my sweetest daughter, whose time was stolen too soon." Beside her lay a clay doll with movable limbs. For 2 millennia, this toy waited in the airless dark, perfectly preserved beside its owner. As the researcher lifted it, the doll's joints actually moved. They still worked. The team described it as the project's most haunting moment. One fresco depicts Christ as a sun god, commanding a celestial chariot. It is a striking, unfamiliar image of the Savior. This is among the oldest depictions of Jesus. It reveals how early believers borrowed pagan imagery to define their new reality. Here he is no bearded man. He is a youth with light radiating from his head, soaring like Apollo or Helios. To historians, This art is the smoking gun of a civilization in transition from Rome to Christendom. But the real target wasn't art. It was the bones of Peter the Apostle. This is where the story turns into a thriller. Underground, every mausoleum points toward a single coordinate. A spot directly beneath the Vatican's high altar. A gap in the city of stone. There they found the Trophy of Gaius, a crude monument mentioned in ancient scrolls. It was humble, almost out of place. 2 wall niches split by a marble slab. 2nd century texts claimed this very marker stood directly over the prints of the apostles. Excavators dug deeper, praying for a miracle. They found the grave, a simple brick-lined hole in the earth. But it was empty. 10 years of secret digging ended in a hole of dirt. The Pope was crushed. But then, epigraphist Margherita Guarducci noticed something missed. She was a master of ancient markings. She looked where others had only glanced. Tucked into a side niche was a hidden chamber. Inside, Guarducci found human remains wrapped in purple cloth woven with gold. The bones were from a robust man in his 60s. Crucially, the soil stuck to them matched the dirt from that empty central grave. She theorized the body was moved in the 2nd century to protect it, then wrapped in royal fabric and hidden in the wall. A Greek scrawl nearby read, "Peter is here." No, is he? Are these truly the remains of the first pope? In 1968, the Vatican declared the case closed. Convincing, they said. Yet the scientific world remains sharply divided. Absolute proof is non-existent. No DNA, no inscribed name on the skeleton, nothing but a suggestive location and a tradition. We have an old man in a golden shroud. Is it a grand coincidence or the ultimate evidence? For 1 billion Catholics, the founder rests right there. For skeptics, it's a brilliant, unprovable theory. The truth, it seems, is buried with the man himself. We may never know for certain. The Vatican Scavi opened to the public in the 50s, but the gates are heavily guarded. Only 12 people enter at a time. You must book months ahead. The wait list stretches into the next season. This isn't about profit. These chambers are fragile. Every breath and every degree of body heat threatens the ancient frescoes. The church must choose. Show the world its greatest treasure, or protect it from the very people who seek it. Yet this necropolis is just the beginning. A second, far more vast underworld snakes beneath Rome. The catacombs. These are endless webs carved into soft volcanic stone. Early Christians used these dark tunnels to house their dead in secret. Thousands of wall niches, or loculi, were cut into the rock. Each one held a single soul, sealed behind a slab. Levels drop upon levels, descending deep into the earth. Some networks plunge 5 stories down, nearly 25 meters of vertical silence. These tunnels stretch 150 kilometers. Inside, between 500,000 and several million people are still waiting in the dark. Walking here is an experience beyond words. Narrow paths, rough orange stone, and the weight of millions watching from the walls. The walls are sheer cliffs of stone niches, stacking from the floor to the vaulted ceiling. Level upon level, mirroring the haunting silence of a forgotten library. But these shelves hold skeletons, not stories. Most lie hollow. The bones were either relocated or surrendered to the dust long ago. Yet some remain sealed behind ancient slabs, inscribed with simple pleas like, "Elena rests in peace." They mark the precise moments, the 4th day before the calends of March, when a soul departed. Names, dates, cryptic emblems, a fish, an anchor, a dove clutching a branch. You won't find the cross here. To the early Christians, that symbol was a mark of shame, a tool of a criminal's execution. They chose the fish instead. In Greek, ichthys served as a secret code for Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. The walls are scarred with graffiti, though not the kind we know today. These are ancient cries for mercy. Peter and Paul, pray for Victor. Mother, forgive me. Lord, remember your servant Felix. Voices frozen in stone. These etchings are the echoes of people who descended into the suffocating dark just to whisper to the departed. They stood there, guided only by the flickering glow of an oil lamp. They carved messages for the ones they lost, words we are reading 1,500 years later. This isn't theology. It's raw grief. It's love. It's the desperate hope of a reunion beyond the grave. The Vatican oversees several of these subterranean labyrinths, including the sprawling catacombs of St. Sebastian, buried beneath the ancient Appian Way. Just kilometers from the Great Basilica lies a hidden world. But even directly under St. Peter's, beyond the necropolis, deeper mysteries stir. The Vatican Grottos, a subterranean network of chapels and tombs. Sandwiched between the cathedral floor and the ancient necropolis, this is the final resting place of the papacy. Dozens of pontiffs lie here, from the medieval era to our modern age. John Paul II was laid to rest here in 2005, before his move to the Upper Basilica. While open to the public, the grottos offer a different kind of chill. They are polished, reconstructed between the 15th and 16th centuries. But there is a third level, a place spoken of only in whispers. The Vatican Apostolic Archive, often called secret, though not in the way you think. It stretches through both surface halls and deep bunkers, housing 85 kilometers of shelving. It is a chronicle of 1,000 years, stretching from the 7th century to the present. Here lie the private letters of kings and emperors, the grim logs of the Inquisition, and the decrees of excommunication. Here is Henry VIII's plea for divorce, the very spark of the English Reformation. You will find Mary Antoinette's final letter from prison and the original transcripts of Galileo's trial. Every page is a jagged shard of human history, locked in a Roman cellar. Among them is the infamous 1520 bull of Pope Leo X, the document that threatened Martin Luther and fractured the Christian world forever. There are even letters from Michelangelo complaining about his paycheck for the Sistine Chapel. The master artist himself wrote of his struggles. He lacked the funds even for paint. Nearby are the records of the Knights Templar, the warrior monks crushed in the 14th century. Accused of heresy, their torture protocols are enough to turn the blood cold. Yet the most haunting document is the one they tried to forget, the Chignon parchment. Lost for centuries, it was only rediscovered in the archives in 2001. It revealed a devastating truth. Pope Clement V had actually cleared the Templars of heresy. He only allowed their execution because he folded under the weight of the French king's threats. For 700 years, that truth was buried. The history of the Templars was a lie, simply because the evidence was gathering dust in a Vatican vault. The word secret has fueled 1,000 conspiracies. But in Latin, secretum simply means private. It is the Pope's personal library. In 2019, the Vatican officially dropped the secret title to dispel the myths. Yet, the shadows remain. Access is a gauntlet. Scholars must prove their intent, undergo rigorous vetting, and secure explicit approval. Even then, you are led only to the specific files you requested. No wandering, no browsing, no straying from the path. Photography is strictly controlled, and some sections remain locked to all, specifically anything from the last 75 years. What is hidden in those recent files? Only the Pope and a few chosen shadows know. Beneath the Vatican lie 3 distinct worlds: the ancient pagan necropolis, the papal grottos of the Middle Ages, and the archive, the paper memory of a millennium. 3 layers, 3 eras, three depths of secrecy. At the bottom are the nameless bones. In the middle, the ornate tombs of history's most powerful men. At the top, secrets known only to God and the pontiff. When you stand in St. Peter's Square, bathed in the blinding Italian sun, look down. Beneath the cobblestones are the stone coffins of men who commanded the souls of billions. Go deeper, and you find a Roman road from 2,000 years ago, lined with the silent houses of the dead. Deeper still, there is a simple earthen grave. It might hold a man who looked into the eyes of Jesus himself. The Vatican is the smallest nation on earth, yet its roots reach deeper than any other. And the further you dig, the more the answers vanish. Whose bones truly lie behind those tiles? What is written in the sealed folders of the Apostolic Archive? What other mausoleums are waiting in the silence, untouched, unseen? The Vatican is literally built upon its secrets, and it is in no hurry to share them. It has all of eternity to wait. Perhaps that is the true lesson of the city beneath. It is not about the bones, the art, or even the remains of St. Peter. It is the realization that every generation builds its future on the ruins of a past it barely understands. Constantine buried a graveyard to raise a cathedral. Michelangelo painted his masterpieces over the dust of the forgotten. Every day, millions walk over a lost civilization without ever hearing its heartbeat. In the most literal sense, we are all standing on the bones of those who came before. Every city, every home, every road is a thin scan over something older, deeper, and much more silent. The Vatican is simply where the earth remembers best. Earth's tiniest nation anchors an eternal vault. 44 hectares above, a bottomless, silent abyss below.